Good morning. I'm so glad to see you all this morning. It's rainy, and I know that when I see it's cold and rainy like this, and I pull the blanket down a little bit and go, do I have to go out? So I'm really glad you're here. You made it out in spite of the blah gray thing out there. If anything, the steel is up. Pretty cool, huh? We're not supposed to walk out there. And I confess that I did on Thursday. I was like, oh my God, I got to look at this. So I didn't go out with the welders who were busy, but I did look out the front. And there's going to be some windows, right? You'll be able to look right into the True Family Fellowship Hall. And you'll be able to look out of these windows in the True Fellowship Hall. And you can look all over the grounds, and you can see this building, the meeting room, and the original building, and it's going to be so beautiful. I'm so excited. I'm thinking about how what the possibilities in that space, and the way that a space can itself be a teacher, can be like a mentor. You know, the classrooms in the building of the First Unitarian Universalist Church in Columbus, Ohio, I still can picture those classrooms in my head. It's interesting that one of the most, how do I want to say it? When I first started teaching fourth grade, I was really nervous. Now, I've spoken, I spoke once at one of our general assemblies, and that was one where we had 4,000 Unitarian Universalists. So I spoke, and I know, to a group as big as 4,000. I speak every Sunday to I don't know, there's maybe 90 of us here and probably another 50 or so online. Hi, y'all. But when I was 26 years old and I had 4 fourth graders, I was as nervous as I've ever been. And I had, they were great. We had a great time in that class, and we actually added some kids to the class in the spring that I taught Sunday school, those many years ago. And one of my best friends from childhood, David, who just recently retired, but he was for years, he was like a chief information executive, and then he was the chief executive for a bank. And so he oversaw like billions of dollars all the time, every day. He was making these big loans, hundreds of millions of dollars. He was doing big stuff. And he called me up one day and he said, Joel, I'm kind of confused because I've agreed to teach Sunday school. And it's fourth graders. And I have no idea why I'm so scared. And we talked a little about it, and I realized, oh, I know what it is. When you're in that age, maybe 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, something like that, one of the things we haven't learned to do yet as human beings is maybe say the truth in fancy word, oblique ways, We just say it. Why are you dressed like that? You have weird shoes on, Joel. They just say it. And when we're used to our courtesies and our politeness, just facing the bare naked truth sometimes at first can feel a little daunting. But the thing that I most appreciated about the 4-year-olds, the fourth graders, the 8-year-old, 9-year-olds that I was with, was they asked the bare naked truth just out of joy of being in Sunday school, and because we cared for one another, we were in community. Truth was, technically I was their teacher, but the reality was they were my teachers as much as I was ever theirs. I told that to David. He said, okay, I can do this. If you can do it with Unitarian kids, I can do it with Methodist kids.
Good morning and welcome. I'm so excited that you all are here with us today. I'm filling in as your worship associate today. My name is Nick Walwork. I'm the Director of Religious Education. If you have any questions about any of our educational programs, particularly for children and youth, I'm the person to talk to, but we can have those conversations later. We are a spiritual community that appreciates the importance of transitions, the transition each generation makes from birth, childhood, youth, adulthood, and elders. This is why we cherish our children, our youth, our elders, and learn to depend on each other as we grow and change. We know that the cooing babies here, and sometimes even the wailing babies, will someday be our teachers, or our activists for judges, or caring for us when we are hurt and healing, or singing or speaking to raise our spirits. As we cherish our elders who have built and nurtured the spiritual home for us, and the mentoring we need from them in the wisdom of their years. We started our class on rainbow parenting, as the book is called, with some of the parents on raising LGBTQ plus children and their allies. The author of that book gives this quote, and I just wanted to share. I thought it was relevant to what Joel was talking about in our little bit here. The biggest difference between a kid and a grown-up is lived experience, and that's it. Otherwise, we're all on the same page. In the season of religious education programming that has begun, I'm pleased to talk with you and answer any questions about it. So if you have a child and you want to know where they're supposed to be, that's fine. If you used to teach it 10 years ago and you think what I'm doing is crazy, we can also talk about it. I'd love to have that conversation. Our choir rehearses on Thursday evening, so if you are a singer and want to be part of that, you can see Michael Rosen, our director of music, about that stuff. I also just want to shout out our AV technical director, Alex West, in the back, and our congregational administrator, Kay Julik, who's not here, but here Monday through Friday, keeping us all together and in line. And of course, Reverend Joel Miller is our interim minister. So if you have any questions about things, if you're new here, if you've been here for a while, and you want to find some of our staff, that's us. We have lots of announcements in the back of your order of service. Even more come to your weekly email. If you get Reverend Joel's emails on Sunday morning, they have a lot of announcements in it. Our weekly Eve Best. If you are not getting those, reach out to Katie, and she'll put you on that mailing list, and you'll get all of what's going on in the fellowship, reports on things, updates on the construction, financial reports, all that kind of stuff. But I do want to highlight that immediately after the service, at 11:45, there's an information session for visitors, getting to know you, that Reverend Joel will be leading. At noontime, this month's Odyssey program, where we hear stories of our older members and their life here at the fellowship and their life in general, will be featuring Steve Crea. So they'll be here in this building, or in this room. So if you want to hear his story, it's the time to come. The fellowship is coordinating 2 holiday giving opportunities. Starting today, you can pick up an ornament. It's on the table, not on a tree yet, but we'll get there, by the stairs, with suggested items donated to holiday bags for inmates at the Morris County Correctional Facility. The collection of these items will end December 10th, which is next Sunday, so bring them in here. Hopefully we'll have a tree for you to put them in. If not, put them on that table there. And if you have any questions, you can find Jean Craft, and hopefully she can tell you more. I'll try to help too, but I don't know a whole lot. And then on December 10th, there will also be a gift and giving opportunity following the service in the Great Hall with House with Heart and Peaceworks. Please support these organizations by purchasing items or making a donation. So these are non-profit organizations that will be bringing some items for you to do some of your holiday shopping with. We're going to do our chalice lighting now. Can I have all of the kids come up here? I'm doing what I want to do. That's what happens when they give me a microphone. I can do what I want. Come on up here. All of you, come here. We're going to hang out.
I did say
Oh,
sure.
okay, that's fine. Okay, so Charlotte, come up. You're gonna help out? Okay. You didn't coordinate. That's what happens. All right, so Charlotte, stand up here. we're going to do our RE chalice lighting, and then we're going to do the grown-up one. So can you guys tell the grown-ups there? And I'm going to try to remember it because I'm very bad at remembering it. Right? So can you guys do it? Ready with me? We are Universalist. We are the ship of the open mind, the loving heart, and the loving hands. Together we will bring peace and justice to the world. All right, very good. Now, Charlotte, very good. You guys can stay right there, and Charlotte, can you write, and we'll all read together our thing here, right? So, love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Awesome. We're going to stand and we're going to sing a song. Can you guys stay up here and sing with me? Okay. All right. Michael's going to lead us. Okay? Stand up.
So you guys can hear the melody.
Okay. Come here.
Let Christmas come, its story told, when days are short and nights are cold. Let Christmas come, its lovely song, when evening soon and night is long. Let Christmas come, it's so unknown, unquiet city, deep arcs of snow. Let Christmas come, its table gleam, love's born again, the truth of dream.
All right.
Very
Hurry up
nice.
here. So I want to tell you guys a story. We're going to tell a story. Can I tell you a story? Oh, boy. So, all right, you guys sit there. I'll sit here. How about that? That works. And I can sit in the chair. Oh, should I go sit up there? Okay. All right, you guys got me a spot. I love it. All right, I'm going to tell a story about gifts because what holidays are coming up? Anyone know what good ones are coming up? What's the next holiday that some folks are going to celebrate?
St. Lucia.
St. Luke. Oh, wow. You guys are getting Hanukkah. That's right. Hanukkah starts this week. And then after Hanukkah is what holiday for our pagan friends? The solstice, which we're going to celebrate here. So you guys can come on that Thursday night. And then after the solstice is, let's say it now. There we go. And we already did Hanukkah. And when does Kwanzaa start? I didn't look it up. After Christmas, right? Yeah.
St. Lucia comes before Christmas.
Okay. Look at you guys and your good. There's a lot of holidays, but those are the three big ones. And Kwanzaa afterwards, absolutely. But two of those ones, Hanukkah and Christmas, feature what? What is the best part of those for you guys? Presents. Celebrating winter. Well, yeah. Okay. I like that you're looking for the right answer, but I know it. Presents, right? We're gonna get presents. How many people have made a wish list yet? A Christmas a gift list? You wrote it in November. How long is it? Have you been adding to it the whole time?
Well, I keep having to rewrite it because I keep thinking of other things I want.
Oh boy. Well, that's what happens. That's what happens when you do that ahead. I think you should do everything last minute, but you know, my teachers all disagree too. Did you have one? Who raised their hand? Said they had written a list yet? Do you guys have a gift list? Yeah? You have one?
But I have a wiggly tooth and I wish it would fall out on Christmas Day.
Oh, you want your wiggly tooth to fall on Christmas Day. Do you think like the tooth fairy pays double if it comes on Christmas? I don't know. I don't know the rules. What are some things that you guys have on your gift list? Yeah. Tell me one thing. You forgot? What are you going to ask for? Stuffies. All right. Who else has stuffies on their list? Charlotte?
I want all the squishmallows in the world.
All the squishmallows in the world? Yeah?
I want an ultra rare squishmallow.
Oh boy, like Beanie Baby time all over again. All right, so I'm going to tell you guys a story about a gift. So this is a story that was told to me about these folks who were on a trip, right? And they went to this trip to this country.
Continue.
Okay, so they went to this trip to this country called Honduras. Does anyone know where Honduras is? No?
Somewhere that way.
That way? Or maybe that way. It's very specific. Okay, so Honduras is in Central America, and it's a country that has some really lovely parts and has some not so lovely parts. So these people happened to go to one of the places that had not so lovely parts, right? There was a lot of people who lived in poverty, who didn't have a lot of things for them, right? And so they were there on a what some folks called mission trips, which are not my favorite things, but they were there. And do you know what those are? No. They go down and they try to help people, right? And so folks who live like we do go down there and they try to, build some things and help some things and stuff like that. And so anyway, these folks were down here, but they also were doing a little bit of tourism. And so they would go down there and they would help out some of these folks, serve at some places, doing different things for them. And then they would go and they would visit the local merchants and things like that. And so there was this one person who was on the trip, and she really loved all of the kind of eclectic things that were down there and was very obsessed with kind of what gifts she can kind of get down there and what things she could buy. And she had some things like shipped back to her house because it was so cool, and she was spending all this money and came from a lot of privilege. And she also liked to point out everyone's stuff, right? And so she's like, ooh, that's a nice pair of earrings you have, she said to this one tour guide, or I like your dress and things. So she was very kind of obsessed with all of the things that were going on down there, right? Oh, I like the way this bench looks at this store and things like that. And so they kind of went through this whole thing, and actually the person who was telling me the story said that it was kind of frustrating that everything was about what stuff was happening there, right? It was about the things, not the people. She didn't so much connect with the people so much, she connected with the stuff that they had. And so they were down there for a week, they did their work, they got their stuff, and they came back home, and they were getting ready to come back home. And the woman who's telling me the story, I said, I went back in the room, I was sharing with this other woman who was obsessed with all this stuff, and she was sitting on her bed, and she was crying. Now, this woman had been very happy and go-lucky because she was buying all this stuff and having all this stuff, and she wanted to know why she was crying. And the woman looked up at her and said, she gave me her earrings. She said, what? She said, she gave me her earrings. And so this woman who is a local person who didn't have a whole lot, in fact, she had these really nice earrings, and because this woman who was obsessed with stuff and had all of the money in the world to buy everything she wanted in that country, and she was working on it, had been given this one pair of earrings by this person who she may have assumed may have been her, can you sit down please? May have been her prized possession. But because this person felt so moved by this woman and these people helping, she gave them to her. And it was in that one thing, these very simple pair of earrings, not the other stuff that she bought and was shipping home and packing in her extra bag, that really moved her, because that present was given, that thing was given to her from a very loving place. That's my story today. You guys are going to have to stick around. Reverend Joel's going to talk a little bit more about it. All right? We can go back to our seats, go back to our little activity bags or whatever, and yeah, do it. All right? Go for it. Go. Go, Sal. Go. Put it on there. Come on. I'm waiting for you to go.
It's our practice to share milestones, passages, and gratitudes in our service and worship on Sunday mornings. Often I know that we are bringing our thoughts about important experiences and we hold them quietly as we gather in community. But when we share those kinds of experiences that are deeply meaningful, deeply distressing, life-changing, when we share them with each other, they come to each of us, all the rest of us, as a gift of experience, a gift of insight, and an invitation to love one another more deeply. Today is World AIDS Day, and on this day we think of so many who would be with us and who so many years ago were lost to AIDS, and so many who are with us because we found ways to keep each other healthy. And may our love and thoughts be with the people in Gaza and in Israel, as well as Iran and Ukraine this morning. And gratitude. Gratitude for the congregation and your generosity. The steel's up. Nick's phone is on the pulpit, by the way, if he comes in. Spirit of life, let us be centered for a moment. So much tugs at us, calls at us, worries about how shall we manage the season? Who shall we be with? What presents are left to buy? What other challenges may we have brought? Sometimes I'm impatient, Spirit of life. I'm impatient. I get impatient with life. I get impatient with those who would teach me. I remember as a younger person, there were teachers. Well, they knew the answers, didn't they? Why just didn't they tell me the answers? Why must I be a student? Why must I do homework? Why must I slog through tests? I felt like I had to slap myself awake through some lectures in college, I remember. Spirit, some people say you're the God of answers. Ask and you'll get answers. That hasn't been my experience. I wanted answers. I mean, war. I mean, what's happening to the people in the Middle East and in Europe and the Far East? Explain this, God. And explain mean people. I mean, what's up with that? It felt for so many years like you were silent. Or are you? I heard an old saying years ago that teachers appear when I'm ready. When I stop expecting answers, when I stop demanding them and become instead a student. Ask your questions. Listen. And indeed, mentors have come into my life, and from surprising places. Their lights still glow in my heart and my memory. So many of them like inner stars, a constellation in the sky and in my soul. And sometimes they're like mythic kings and queens bringing precious gifts for holy children. and I find I follow some of those stars. If it is human to teach and an act of love for life to ask questions, then I think I can be in class and be surrounded always by teachers, students, friends, companions. Remind me to walk through sorrow and through joy with my people, with an open heart. Today I'm grateful for the teachers in my life, the light they gave me like lanterns in my soul. May I be open to all the lights I have yet to take within me. Amen. So be it. Blessed be.
Good morning. I'm Paul Firm, President of the Board of Trustees. And just some quick notes for you today. I wanted to highlight again that next week on Sunday, December 10th, Hazel and our policy governance team will be, which is a working group on the board, will be leading a short meeting after the service on policy governance and what it means and kind of what we're working on. It's an interesting topic. A lot of people are interested, so we want to have time to discuss that with you all. I want to thank and just acknowledge Reverend Joel and the UUA team. They are working on our transitional minister application process, so that work's underway. We want to have a lot of updates for a few more weeks, but I was happy to see that was well underway this week. And a last thing, just thanks again to our staff this week. I don't if you didn't notice, they worked on a lot of IT issues. We had server problems, email problems, and on top of that, phishing problems. If you don't know what phishing is, good for you, go look it up on the internet. But rest assured, we will not ask you to buy gift cards for us and send it directly to Paul or Reverend Joel. But we would like to ask you to always consider your annual budget. Pick up the phone when you get a call from board members, or actually with our Tim Davis, our stewardship chairs. Ask the board to all just reach out to you individually and thank you for your pledge this year. And if you haven't done it for sure, he's still looking for pledges for this calendar year. And so, yeah, thank you. If read Reverend Joel's email this morning about how to make sure you're getting our emails, because if you're not, it's likely going into spam. And there are some simple things you can do so you can make sure you're on our list and things are working. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. You'll see half the music for today is for the start of December and Advent, particularly what the Advent means as the definition. Advent means sort of waiting in reverence for the coming of something, patience. And I love how Joel put it last week, the birth of peace, of all the universal symbols of light in the darkness and peace. So we just did Let Christmas Come, a beautiful Anglican tune with the text, and I'll be playing December of the 12-movement piano suite, the last movement, which is for the last month, December, by Tchaikovsky. But next is the hymn, Guide My Feet, and at the end, O Brother, Son. These fit with the lantern theme of mentoring that is present throughout this service, as Joel mentioned in the reading, and we'll go more deeply in the sermon. Exactly as we saw with Nick with the children this morning, guiding and mentoring, which is usually age, but it can be ageless, how we are lanterns or mentors to everyone. I've certainly had many musical mentors, and that's exactly what Guide My Feet, and especially O Brother, Son at the end, deal with. I think most people recognize this. Please stand if you'd like.
Our offering today is split 50-50 with the Interfaith Food Pantry, a community of neighbors helping neighbors committed to ending hunger and supporting self-sufficiency. You can find the instructions for donating in the paper order of service or the order of service you have that you can have access to online from the Sunday update. Langston Hughes was born in 1902, died in 1967. He was a black poet. His poetry was so popular among black folks, he could make a living as a poet. His poetry is proudly black, but his poetry, I find, so human and humane, and his poetry mentors me. I've turned to his poetry to learn many times. In this poem I'm going to share with you from Langston Hughes this morning, he uses the term colored. It's not a term we use anymore to talk about black people. But Langston Hughes had to use this term in his time. The title of this poem is Theme for English B. The instructor said, "Go home, write a page tonight, and let the page come out of you, then it will be true." I wonder if it is that simple. I am 22, colored, born in Winston-Salem. I went to school there, then school in Durham, then here to this college on the hill above Harlem in New York. I am the only colored student in my class. It is not easy to know what is true for you or for me at 22, but I guess I'm what I feel and see and hear. I'm Harlem. I hear you. Hear me. We too, you, me, talk of the page. I hear New York too. Me, who? I like to eat. I like to sleep, drink, be in love. I like to work. I like to read, learn, understand life. I like a pipe for a Christmas present, or records, Bessie, Bop, or Bach. I guess being colored doesn't make me not like the same things other folks like, who are other races. So, will my page be colored that I write? Being me, it will not be white, but it will be part of you, instructor. You are white, yet a part of me, as I am a part of you. That is America. Sometimes perhaps you don't want to be a part of me, nor do I often want to be a part of you. But we are. It's true. As I learn from you, I guess you learn from me, though you're older and white and somewhat more free. This is my page for English B. So albeit I'm inviting visitors, or actually any of you that would like to come if you're not going to the Odyssey, although you might want to go to the Odyssey because Steve Grayhouse is doing it. It should be really cool. And we'll be talking about, what do Unitarian Universalists do? You know, we build the building, but the things we do in a building these days are not the same thing that our spiritual ancestors would have done. It used to be a sermon was kind of like a news report and a report on an opportunity to learn more and new things that were coming out into the world, and an opportunity for guidance, and not so much anymore. Y'all can look things up on the internet. I don't need to tell you about things. What we do now? Well, the biggest challenge, I think, for people who come and join UU congregations is that when they're newer to Unitarian Universalism, is discovering that actually, no, you can't believe in anything you want. You can't believe in hate or believe in racism or believe in lying. That's just not part of what we do or believe. Not that we might do those things or have some beliefs that we'd like to change. But here's the challenge for those of us who have been members for a long time, which is when newcomers come and join us, new members join us, everything changes. changes newcomers, people with new eyes to Unitarian Universalism, or changes that our younger generations bring to us. It means so much change, and there's so much change going on anyway. Who wants more? But I love it that George Hayes keeps reminding us, got to quote him again, change is inevitable. How do I want to live into the change? You made a pretty big commitment to change. Steel's up. In her book, Lanterns, Marian Wright Edelman writes about a Sunday school teacher who was so important in her life. Teachers, like parents, make a big impression on children, for good or ill. I remember, as if it were yesterday, how I felt when I went with one of my teachers and a church member into Belk's department store in Maine. They were in the South. I was thirsty and went instinctively to drink from the nearby water fountain. My teacher jerked me away in panic from the white water fountain. It was the first thing I remembered when my sister told me she had died in her 90s. All of her so many kindnesses to me, to my family, and that was the first moment that came up. I still recall my Sunday school teachers, their faces, their names, the classes. I keep in touch with some of them even to this day. None of them were actually professional teachers. I remember Dr. White, I've mentioned him before. He was a pediatrician. He loved teaching Sunday school. One day he said, let's just study the scientific method. And he went to a slaughterhouse on Saturday, picked up all kinds of parts of animals for us to dissect on Sunday with really sharp scalpels that he brought. And some of the kids were like horrified. I was like, oh, this is cool. A whole cow's heart. I could take it apart myself. The poor director of religious education looked at the scalpels with horror, like, oh, don't anybody's fingers get cut. He was smart. He loved what he was doing. I loved being in his classes. Dr. White. And I can understand why Marian White Edelman would think back with fondness, but wonder about that one moment. But I can imagine, had her mentor, her teacher, not pulled her away from that water fountain, what terrible things might have happened. She had to. We are, as teachers and mentors, never perfect. Sometimes the lessons we give, we recall, maybe best adding a little bit of forgiveness and understanding. There was a movement when I was in theological school. We wanted to abolish the term teacher in fact, we wanted to abolish the term Sunday school, but we kept struggling with what to do about that. Can we call ourselves mentors in our learning program on Sundays? And it got confusing, and we just kept using the term Sunday school and teachers. Whether we change the language or not, there's certain stories that seem to remain common, some of them that we bring. One I've heard so many times. Someone who asked a Sunday school teacher, how do we know there's a God? And the teacher's so upset by the question, the minister has to be summoned, and the minister has to give a lecture about the nature of God, or maybe be called a blasphemer. I'm so glad I grew up Unitarian Universalist. With 33 years in ministry, I've had the privilege of mentoring many colleagues through my career, my profession. Colleagues who are beginning their careers in ministry. And new Unitarian Universalist ministers are required to have a mentor in their first couple of years of ministry. I've learned something, though, in being an official mentor, which is that I've never been just a mentor. If I was truly accompanying a colleague through an understanding of what it is to be a minister and to care for a congregation and enhance its ministry and deepen the bonds of community, I have to be so much myself, not just imparting knowledge. I have to just bring who I am, that the experience has always been one of co-mentoring, because my colleague is asking me questions and maybe not sure they agree with some of my assumptions, or surprised at things I haven't thought about. I like it. I like being a co-mentor. And I really came to understand co-mentoring because at first I was the minister of the congregation that Monica joined. Monica has been a mentee officially. She's been a co-mentor with me for some years now. But when I first met Monica 12 years ago, she and her husband were just out of graduate school, settling into new careers, and they joined the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship where I was serving as an interim minister. A young couple, hoping to have children, but none yet. And they had a vision for what a congregation could be and what a congregation could do. And she began advocating right away for ingredient lists at potlucks, so folks like Joel with his celiac disease could look to see if it had gluten in it, or if you had a soy allergy, you could see there wasn't soy or peanuts. And the congregation was a little surprised by this, like, why do we have to do this? She also was advocating for pronouns on name tags. So I'm Joel Miller, Reverend Joel Miller, he, his, my pronouns. The congregation had no idea what to do with this. This was very new. Monica said to me recently, she was feeling then a holy impatience. She was frustrated. After a year with the congregation, she'd managed to get most of the folks to put an ingredient list by their dish at a potluck. Nobody was ready yet to put their pronouns on their name tags. We were Unitarian Universalists, she thought. Why? It seemed so straightforward and caring to put pronouns on our name tags. 10 months, almost a year. Things were going very slowly. She was pretty angry about it. And she remembered, she thought back about it as she talked with me recently. She was so frustrated, she was thinking of leaving the congregation. It seemed so simple a way to be in solidarity with queer people, transgender people, non-binary people. Monica talked to me about it, and she said, you didn't try to give me advice. You didn't try to convince me of anything or solve anything for me. I was halfway out the door, but I wasn't gone. And what you did was stay with me in the doorway as I thought about what this meant to me. She says I asked her what it was like, what she was experiencing. She said I supported her in thinking about how she could continue to advocate. And she tells me that she realized she really loved these people in this congregation. And it was just going to take time, just time, for them to come to their own understanding, to truly stand with them in their doorway, in their transition. And she said, one of the things I know now as a minister, you didn't say this then, but I'll say it to you, there is the speed of church. Slow. And that's because the process is just as important as the outcome, maybe more important. She appreciated my mentoring. And then she reminded me of what it is to be in a co-mentoring relationship. Before I'd left, we'd begun to talk about ministry together, Monica and I. And 6 years later, she was studying at Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago, one of our 2 Unitarian Universalist schools for ministry. In fact, a member of this congregation, Elias Ortega Aponte, is the president of Meadville Lombard. His family and he were active here before they moved to Chicago 4 years ago. It was 2017, and when I say that year among Unitarian Universalist ministers, we all go, oh yeah, 2017. What do I mean by that? Well, that's when our Unitarian Universalist Association, our national association, had made some hiring decisions that revealed a racial bias in our process that ended up with only white people being hired for high-level positions, and most of our diversity was appearing in the custodial staff. Kind of embarrassing, and not very good, and not the values we were espousing. In 2017, nearly every black, brown, and indigenous leader in Unitarian Universalism was speaking up very strongly. We have to get this right. You've got to stop doing this. Please pay attention. You did. You started working on the Eighth Principle Project, and I'm grateful that you did. When my colleagues started speaking in 2017, I was heartbroken. I called up one of my dear friends, Rosemary. She's a black Unitarian Universalist minister, also president of a theological school, our other schools, Thomas Starr King School in California. I asked Rosemary, I think I've hurt you in the last 20 years that we've known each other and worked together. And she said, yeah, you have. I knew better than to burden my black friend with my heartbreak. I apologized, promised her I'd work on it, but I didn't want to go into detail unless she wanted to talk about it. So I called Monica. She was in theological school. She was working on this in a very diverse student body. And my heart was so broken because I had spent 25 years as a minister hoping that what I was doing was making a broad embrace of Unitarian Universalism that could welcome all kinds of people, and finding I was doing not that I was in my own unawareness keeping this movement exclusive in some ways. And that's not what I wanted. It's not what I thought I was signing up to do. And my BIPOC colleagues, black, brown, indigenous, from other ethnic backgrounds, they were hurt, they were angry. I didn't know what to do. And then I realized, I think I'm in the way. I had read Ta-Nehisi Coates. I thought white supremacy was guys in white hoods. I read the books, and I still didn't understand this was a thing that could be in me. And I was horrified when I realized it was. So I had called Monica, 25 years younger than me, a theological student. I told her I was thinking of leaving ministry. Monica reminds me that I was having my own doorway experience. She didn't give me advice. She listened. She observed. She ministered to me, a student, and a minister of over 25 years' experience. And I tried to figure out, what am I going to do? I wasn't going to quit because I was mad. I was going to quit because I wanted to get the hell out of the way. I wanted this to be successful. I wanted good leadership for our movement. Monica listened and just was with me in the doorway, a co-mentor. It was a few months later from another mentor, just a mentor of the moment, another colleague, Walter LaFleur, a black colleague. I've only met him twice. And the first time I'd met him, he was part of a panel talking about the experience of colleagues of color. And he lingered after the panel, and I went up to him. We talked a little bit, and then I told him about my heartbreak and I asked him, I'm thinking it would be most helpful if I just left the ministry and got out of the way. And he looked at me fiercely and he said, and that, my friend, is white supremacy. I knew it in a flash. 2 mentors in that year that changed everything for me. Monica, who opened my heart, and Walter LaFleur, who said it like it was. Like maybe I was in a class with 8-year-olds who would say it like it was. He said it like it was. That, my friend, is white supremacy. But so many things I understood in the 7 words. We need you. Don't leave. And if you leave, it means white supremacy wins. Yeah, you have racism in you. Get over it. Work on it. Outgrow it. White supremacy wants you to feel ashamed, wants you heartbroken. Don't let it. I stared at Reverend Walter for a moment, and I said with as much gratitude as I could possibly muster, "Thank you." He nodded and walked off because that was all he wanted to deal with. I didn't blame him. But what I did do is I called Monica, and she listened thoughtfully and said, "I'm so glad you're going to stay in ministry. We need you. I need you." Being members, all of us have a great gift to bring one another. We never know when one of our fellow members will be a mentor, when we will be mentees. It can be unpredictable. We're surrounded by teachers even now. And you have committed to opening your hearts, your souls, your lives in those steel beams to generations yet to come. You will be changed, and you don't even know yet how, because new people will fill those rooms in this room. And what they have to teach you and what you have to teach them are precious gifts. It may not always be obvious, but it's very important that we let it happen. The lanterns we become give light long after even our names are forgotten on this earth.
Oh, brother, son, you bring us light, all shining round and firing mine. Oh, sister moon, you heal and bless, your beauty shine and tenderness. Shivering wind, you sweep the hills, your mighty breath, both freshens and fills. Oh, living water, you cleanse and flow through rivers and streams, in ice and snow.
Let's do the whole thing one more time. Nice and short, and it's just so good.
Oh, brother, son, you bring us light, all shining round and firing mine. Oh, sister moon, you heal and bless, your beauty shines in tenderness. Shivering wind, you sweep the hills,
Let your light live beautifully in yourselves so that it may someday live beautifully in all of us. You're beautiful. You're courageous and generous. The world needs you. Take your light, and when the light feels dim, we'll be here again to help each other relight and be lit. Go in peace. Be in peace.